is.
Yeah.
You
Right. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Greetings, one and all. We'll just wait a bit. Let one or two people who wish to come on board.
Yes.
Then we'll get going. Coffee time today.
Yeah, 'cause it's cold, man. Serious winter things.
Welcome to British winter time.
Yep. We all know that there's supposed to be more snow, but you know
Well,
they can't handle it, innit?
let it stay where it is in Norway
Yeah, where they're equipped.
for the Norse Nephilims.
Yeah, that's why they like it there. Swimming in the cold. You know you get those crazy people as well. Somebody's come, but they're not. Don't show who.
All right, we'll just wait a bit. We've got a fair bit that we want to try and cover, but anyway,
See what we can do.
we'll talk how we talk. We'll try and get through as much of it as we can. Hopefully, there won't be no part 3. You know,
you could only hope. Well, it should be alright. Was this a gift? This mug? So I can't see any of us buying this.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And Sarah's kept it, of course.
Is it Sagittarius? It says it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it came from. Oh, God, the rubbish.
No, she likes to have lots of mugs.
Yeah, no, she's just not buying anymore because the cupboard can't hold them.
Yeah, that's what my mum said. Until then, she made a new cupboard.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. She'll be trying to get a new cupboard. You know.
So we'll just wait a couple of minutes for a couple more people, then we'll get moving.
The headphone's a bit crooked.
As we do know, some people do look at this later, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I wish people actually did realise, though, to be honest, how serious the whole thing is. You know, you feel all right.
Yeah.
Because I think they don't realise that actually it's affecting us.
Yeah.
This, you know, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any immigration control. I think there should be.
Yeah.
Like I said, in a minute, I'm going to read what the government is saying. But they need to watch how they do what they do, and certainly from our perspective, when I say our, I mean we, you know, Jamaican descendants and Jamaican people and Jamaican blooded and Caribbeans anyway. In
general, yeah.
Some of them have been adversely affected by this. I signed a petition today, actually.
Yeah, so did I.
To remove clause 9, which I'll come to. And clause 9, basically, I'm going to talk through the other clauses as well. But I'm just saying that up front. So there are going to be some people who miss it, but that's why I'll try and return to it maybe in a bit as we move forward. Yeah. Clause 9 basically will give the government the power to remove people from the country with no notice.
Yeah.
So that what that will mean is that then if they decide that they want to deport someone, and we know they've done it with Jamaicans, and I'm speaking that way because that's my blood. So I'll talk about them first. Not because we're more important, but because it is what it is. They did it with Jamaicans, and and obviously they're going to do it with others.
Yeah.
You know, they'll take them and they'll put them into a detention centre. Tamar's going to talk about detention centres later. And then they'll just decide, we're going to dip you and you're gone. So what they're actually doing, I'm going to go into more detail with it, is giving people absolutely no time to prepare a case to appeal or
no
anything,
support,
and all of a
nothing.
sudden they're on a plane and they're off.
Yeah, and they might not even have no family there anymore. No, nothing. Because if their parents moved here, or their parents have died, and all their family is here, and they've had their children here, and even their grandchildren here, what are they going?
Yeah, where are
to?
they going?
Yeah, who's looking after them?
And of course, the other problem that we have is the receiving country.
Yeah.
Because instead of them saying,
Mm.
this person who you've brought here on this plane, return with them
Yeah.
or go to the moon
Mhm.
with Elon Musk. You know, you're coming here for what? And if you're coming here and you're leaving them here, where's the money?
Yeah, what's going on?
You know, because this is the thing, they're very happy to be dropping people off in developing countries, and you know what that means. Basically, it means countries which have been raped by the UK, the USA,
Yeah.
Canada, and France.
Yep.
In the main,
they've drained off their resources.
So when they're returning them to such type of countries, developing countries, are they giving them the money for the people?
Yeah.
But now, see, dirty England, where I'm living, but I'm speaking the truth, they were ready to build a new prison in Jamaica. Instead of them saying, let's give you some money to improve the infrastructure for education and those type of things, they were ready to build a new prison so that they could be sending everybody from here and ramming them up in the prison.
Yep. And just keep them there.
And at least the government was sensible enough to tell them, go it.
Mm.
But if they should not really have left it like that. They should tell them, give us the money for infrastructure or come and build, you know, some new type of academies and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, where young men can learn a trade and learn something that's useful for, you know, and when I say a trade, people always automatically think about car mechanics and yeah, you're always going to need them to a certain extent. But remember, we're going to have electrical vehicles. Yeah. I don't know when Jamaica will hit all that, but they will.
Yeah.
Because they get their stuff from abroad anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to need different types of skills. You're going to need people who learn computer-aided design and, you know, this is what they should be doing in these. They should be building technical colleges in these developing countries.
And all sorts.
You know, let them learn how to do computer-aided design and you know, things like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do I know? I'm just a guy who just likes talking, you know.
Yeah, but it's true because I think, well, it's quite obvious anyway. It's not even a thing. We know, don't we, that they don't, deep down, these governments, and I'm talking the elite governments as they class themselves, they don't want these other countries to develop onto the same level as them, because then it becomes a problem, of course. Because if they have developed to that level, they're not going to need them. It's actually them that will need that country, because they won't need their goods and their food. That's right.
And they won't be asking them to give back the money that they stole.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Exactly.
And so they want to look for who they feel are the worst people in each country and send them back to allegedly where they came from.
Yeah.
And yes, we know it doesn't affect only people of colour, but it affects people of colour, at least so far, adversely, and probably more than others.
Yeah, because the others I saw was of course, you know, there's some people that were born in South Africa, grew up in South Africa, but obviously they're not a person of colour, they're white. They're also, some of them, grannies and stuff, they tried to send them back as well. And to fling them off, and there's not even anybody there for them.
And also, they, you know, maybe they're even racist and don't like the regime, because that's why they left, because they didn't want to have black people leading them.
Yeah.
Let's face the truth. You know,
it's true.
Yes, we know when we look at some of the rubbish that's gone on in Zimbabwe, and you know, Mugabe and his people. But again, if you look deeper and look who was behind that fueling it, then you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
If you're not enlightened, and if you're enlightened, you'll say, "I knew it."
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we're talking about. Same with South Africa. There's
Yep.
lots of stuff going on there
The same
because it's the same story. The mining companies which are still occupying South Africa belong to white people.
Yes.
Let's not fool ourselves. Let's have it right.
Yeah, and the amount on real if
And they're sorry,
go on.
I'm just going to say they're mining and taking out.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
And paying the workers peanuts.
Peanuts, literally peanuts. Yeah, barely surviving. I even watched a documentary. I think I was with you when I was. Remember, it was about the gold.
Mm-hmm.
And they found this mine. I think it was Tanzania or something. And there's they found some earth there in Tanzania, rich with the gold. And straight away, they're setting up their mine fast, yeah. Setting up, they're getting people who are in the area, employing them to then set up these mines.
It was Mali.
Was it Mali?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to set up these mines. And then they send these workers in to go down there, no equipment, no safety clothes, nothing.
When we saw, and this is just last year we watched this program.
Yeah.
When we saw the mine, I was like,
"This is a mine." It looked like a hole.
Modern day things.
Yeah.
Because the lady who went, she was a mixed what do you call it? Mixed heritage, whatever it's called nowadays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She had more than one bloodline. Let's put it that way. So she was interested to go and see. So she went and she said, "Oh." When she saw, because they said, "We'll bring you to one of the mines." She's like, "Oh, is this it?" And she went and dug. I mean, it might have been contrived, but she said it wasn't.
Yeah.
Within 15 minutes, she had gold in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that just goes. She was just digging. We saw her doing it.
Yeah.
She had gold. That was actually worth something. But yet, when they explained how much they pay the people, it's like next to nothing. Mm-hmm. So you already know.
The exploitation is serious.
So if they were deporting people and sending them back with something and sending them back to do something substantial and so forth, even all the days when they say, "We want to get the blacks out and we want to send them back to their countries and send them back," whatever they mean by their countries. Well, if you're going to send me back to my country and you send me back to southern Spain, I don't have a problem with that. Real. But send me with money as well.
Yeah, don't be sending me without the goods.
Because don't try to fool me. And if you wanted to do it even better than that and send me directly to where my bloodline came from originally, send me back to Israel.
Yeah, for real.
Right? Which means get them people out who are there, who are the imposters.
Yeah.
The fake Israelis.
The
Jewish
and
people.
Put the real ones in, which is me.
Get them out. So, okay. Let's go on from where we were.
Mm-hmm.
Government says they want to deter illegal entry into the UK to break the business model of smuggling. And they say they want to remove easily those who have no right to be here. So we understand that. And those are the things that we're going to talk about. Israel's put their real talk. Yeah, of course. What do you mean?
Yeah, because
So they're saying they're going to toughen their stance against illegal entry and criminalize the whole system more than what they have done already. So they're saying this now. This is what the government is saying. That Priti Patel. For the first time, whether you enter the UK legally or illegally will have an impact on how your system claim progresses and on your status in the UK if the claim is successful. Okay, so and on it goes with their various things, and then it goes on into their looking at the overall system, etc., etc. I'm not going to go into that. I'm gonna read some stuff, and then we'll just talk in general.
Mm-hmm.
The government did their own study on themselves because they had to prove a point, but it's good that they did it. Called an Echo India Alpha, which is Equality Impact Assessment. And these are supposed to be done for various things anyway.
Mhm.
But of course, they did this now for this immigration and nationality bill. Or what's it called? It's called the Nationality and Borders Bill.
Okay.
So this is a live document, which means that it's subject to change. If you
Mhm.
didn't, for those who don't,
Yeah.
who are not so politically minded, it means it's subject to change.
Mhm. Yeah, so it can develop and with whatever's happening.
Which also means if they find something in there that's too hot,
They're
it will
removing.
suddenly get removed.
Yep.
So they say decision makers are obliged to have due regard to specific considerations under the public sector equality duty. So they should seek to eliminate discrimination, harassment, victimization, and any other conduct that is prohibited under the 2010 Act. Advance equality of opportunity between persons who share relevant protected characteristic and persons who do not share it. Okay? And foster good relations.
Okay.
Right. So let's look at what they said. So they talked about the asylum system. They say the system is broken and needs reform. Okay, that may be true. So they're small boat arrivals. I mean, I'm speaking from both perspectives. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be an overhaul of the system. So that's why I'm giving you statistical information, and then we're commenting on some of it because we're just laying out the facts as well, and facts actually speak truth.
Yeah.
For and against.
Mm-hmm.
But quite often they twist them to speak only in their favor, but facts speak both ways. So they say small boat arrivals reached record levels this year with over 3,700 people arriving in the UK by small boats in the first 5 months of 2021. That's actually total madness.
Mm-hmm.
January until May, 3,700 people plus arrived in the UK by small boats, which remember that means they came through from France to the UK, which means the French went bam and closed their eyes and slept.
We already explained that.
Right? We spoke about this last week, but that's the bit that they're trying to pretend has nothing to do with it. It is the most surveillanced waters, surveilled, whatever the word is, I can't think at the moment. You know, they've got the most surveillance in the world.
Yeah,
it's the busiest waterway in the world.
Yeah,
the Straits of Dover between Calais and Dover, busiest in the world.
With constant.
But all of a sudden, 3,700 plus.
On small boats.
Right? Small boats just managed.
So that means many boats.
They slept.
Not just one boat. It wasn't one ferry that flew its way over.
They slept.
Yeah, so they were yeah, or so, guards, leave them.
So in this scenario, we wonder who's the wheat and who's the tares. Because the Bible says while men slept, evil men sowed in tares unawares. Yeah. So, well, anyway, that's another story, but
while the guards were sleeping.
If you get me, you get me. They slept. And now they're saying, oh, it's a problem. You need to speak to France as well.
For real.
You know?
Because why did they let them fly over here so easily?
Well, you know why? Because France don't want them.
France doesn't want anyone.
Right?
You know.
And also, they don't want to stay in France because France treat them very caustically.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's right, but I'm just highlighting facts. That France don't play games with them.
No, they don't.
They crack out the whip. When they come to England, some of them are grinning their teeth hard.
Yeah, because they know they just say, yes, I'm 15, bye. And all the rest of the rubbish that they try.
15 and they look 47.
Yeah. And because there's no documents, oh, we'll have to check it. And then they never see that person again.
So this is more than double of what came in 2020. So in other words, they're trying to show you that the problem is getting worse.
Mm.
Claims in general increased by 21%. So they're and this is the highest number since 2015-16.
Yeah.
And they're saying that the ability, this is what the government is saying. I'm not saying that I agree or even that it's all truth, because it's the government's truth.
Mm.
And you know how the government is already.
Yeah.
They lie.
Yep. Liars.
So they've said at the same time, our ability to remove individuals with no right to remain is declining. In 2019, there were 7,000 enforced returns. At the end of 2020, there were approximately 41,600 cases subject to removal action, but they hadn't been removed. So the whole system, the cost of them, they say, is more than 1 billion.
Mm.
So they want to change the system.
Yeah.
So they want a I'll say the word right in a minute. Differentiated approach for the first time. So how you enter the UK will impact how they will deal with you.
Mm.
So they're securing the border. In other words, they're saying if you came in one of the small boats and you came in illegally, we're not even speaking to you. You don't exist. But here's the funny thing: that's basically how all of them came in.
Yeah, because how else can they get here?
Right?
You think they have money for other things?
No, and if you came in illegally, well, they all came in illegally, as they wouldn't have got here. Because when if they were to ask, can you imagine if they go to the immigration, can I get a flight to the UK because I want to seek asylum? No, wait here first.
Yeah.
And don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you look round, the genuine cases would be dead.
Yeah. Because there's not even a time limit.
That's right. And this is part of the problem, that they've mixed, and it's hard maybe to differentiate, but that's why their government do your work. Exactly. To differentiate between the genuine and the ones who are liars. This is where the difficulty is now. So they've bunched everybody together. But then at the same time, if we want to go even a little deeper than that, we have people who are already here living in the UK who they are penalising on top of that. Yeah. Hence where we talk then about the colorism issue, racism issue that they're sending out from here, Caribbeans, Jamaicans especially, who should be here.
Who should be living here.
And who should stay here and have put tax in this country, have worked and built this country, and they've decided you're too old now, or you made a mistake, you went to prison for something, whatever it may be, and we're not giving you a second chance because we don't like your colour.
Yeah.
Get out.
Mm.
No.
And then there's people here that are faking for their asylum. Yeah, because we're not saying they're all, they should all be here. There are some that should not be here because they're criminals.
That's right.
They're pretenders.
That's right.
And they're getting away with it. And then on top of it, getting their yard and their shopping paid for by the government.
And they're not 15.
Yeah.
By the way. Right? Yes, I'm underage. I'm 15. And they've got 7 children back home in their yard where they came from.
That they're bringing over every so often.
Everyone who comes over is a cousin or a sister. We will strengthen penalties for illegal entry, introducing a maximum life sentence for facilitation, reform the legal process to ensure repeat meritless claims can no longer frustrate removal. Okay, like I said, some of that, I'm going to read another document after this that critiques some of it anyway. And the whole point is that's why we want to highlight it. I know some people probably think it's not that interesting to know. Well, fine. If it's not interesting to you, that's your business, because you're just okay for yourself. But you've also might be somebody who has family that this will affect. If you're a person like us who's involved with ministry, you may come across people who may end up in your ministry or come to your church or whatever. This will affect.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know at the moment, lots of churches are talking about doing the work, but they're not doing it. When I say lots, I mean people of our colour, my colour, like this, they're not doing it. Church is church, but your church is full of black people
Yeah,
who look like
and
you,
not anybody else.
using the
And you're not
political
helping
term,
anyone else.
and you're not working with other people.
So you can't even look at those Catholic white churches and criticize them because you're coming the same.
So they said they've got their evidence from various places. I'm not going to go into that. Right?
Even that one is
And they do say, okay, we've got gaps here and there, blah, 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 blah.
So they admit.
So this is what they've said now, which, you know, may be against themselves or whatever. There is a risk that our policies could indirectly disadvantage. You're the one who did that. Why are you farting and then looking up and wondering where it came from? Hey, guys, hey, this dog, my dog is here. The dog has just farted and then jumped up. Who did that? Looking around. He don't know where it came from.
Oh, funny.
Polluting the atmosphere. Hey, my goodness me. I've never seen anything like it. Do you hear him?
Yeah, because that's why I said, huh? And then he's looking around as if to say, oh, what was that?
There is a risk that our policies could indirectly disadvantage protected groups.
Well, there you go. Then.
What, like the Windrush people who
Yeah.
you have been deporting?
Yeah.
Priti Patel and her crew have been deporting.
Yeah.
But it started with Wooden Top, didn't it? You know, Theresa May.
Yeah. It started with Theresa May. She was the one that was pushing hard back in the day, should I say. It's not really back.
But you know what they've said? Listen to this. Because this is, you know, they always have an answer. However, our analysis is that with appropriate mitigation and justification. Now, they mean mitigation on the part of the government, not on the part of the appellant, by the way. Such impacts would not amount to unlawful indirect discrimination. Okay? So they're saying, of particular note are the following groups. Illegal entrants and arrivals from safe third countries. Evidence indicates that 74% of those arriving in the UK by small boat were aged between 18 to 39. Lie. That's what they said.
Yeah, that's why we know that there's lots of children that come.
But 87% of them are male. That is true.
Yeah, because they come first.
I don't even want to get into the reasons why that is happening, right? Because that's a totally different topic altogether. But if you know, you know, and I'm not going there.
Yeah, for real.
But it's happening for a reason, and in a few years to come, you'll see what's the result of it if they don't stop it. So that's why I said, don't just assume that I am completely against the Nationality and Borders bill or whatever it's called. You know, that you shouldn't quell immigration and deal with it effectively. I believe that they must, because I believe that if they don't, they're worrying as usual about people of color. Yeah. You know, because this is often what they do. They're worrying about people who look like myself and my daughter and anywhere in between, people of color. But what they need to worry about is a particular religion. Yeah. Okay? Let me leave it like that, because I said I don't want to be too much emotive on that particular subject. It's a whole subject in itself. But they need to be very mindful of a particular religion. Yep. But the interesting thing is that the person who has drafted this comes from that religion. Yeah, for real. So she will be biased. And you can say all you want. No. She's a government minister. That wouldn't happen. Well, I don't care, because I believe she would be. Yeah. Likewise, even Javed, what's it? Yeah, man. I've even forgotten his name. Team. Who they all are cabinet together. Yeah, they're biased. Yeah, they're biased. Right, and they've worked their way to that position strategically. Right, and they are now overlooking. So 87%, and most of these who are coming in, you already know what I'm saying. All right, they've not chosen to put that in their governmental information here, but it matters. Of
course it does.
All right, it matters because then instead they're targeting old people,
Yeah.
Caribbeans, Jamaicans. Well, Jamaicans are Caribbeans, but you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, right? They're targeting old people who've been here from the year dot,
Yeah.
who have worked and have brought up children and grandchildren, and even some case great grandchildren
Mhm.
right here, and they're telling them now you should leave, and even we'll kick out your grandchildren and children as well.
Yeah.
What are you on?
What rubbish.
So they're saying the top. All right, here we are. Listen to this. The top 5 nationalities arriving by small boat,
Okay.
both male and female, are Iran,
Mm.
Muslim, Iraq, Muslim,
Yeah.
Sudan, Muslim,
Yeah.
Syria, Muslim, Afghanistan, Muslim.
Yeah.
I've made my point.
Yeah.
They just gave you the countries. I'm giving you a little bit more so you understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
They should be real about where the real problem is and not try to bunch the whole thing all together as one. That's what the problem is.
Yeah.
So they're saying that measures that they're seeking to put in place should deal with this.
How?
And that where there's any disadvantage, it should be so. There would not be any unlawful discrimination, because of course they'll just target the easy targets and then say that they are meeting their quota.
Mm-hmm.
See, because that's why they like to give you the statistical information and not talk about the real.
Yep.
So then they've talked about vulnerable people. I'm not going there because everybody who comes here is vulnerable
Of course.
in one way or another,
Yeah.
whether it be financially, sexually, emotionally, or otherwise.
Yeah.
That's why they're coming here. So then they've talked about monitoring and implementation. They've talked about stateless minors. They need to check up on those who say that they are minors, because that has really been a serious problem.
Yep. They should be giving them medical examinations immediately.
And they're saying that yes, it should be right that stateless children should be able to register, but parents should not be able to choose. That's kind of weird, because if the child is a child, you don't have the right to have the same rights as somebody who they classify as a UK citizen.
Yeah.
Because UK law says that a child cannot make decisions for themselves. The decisions are made by the parents, or if the parents are incapable, a court order will be taken out and social services acting on the behalf of the parents, who will become the parents, will then decide, and if it needs to go higher than that, it will go to a high court judge who will make the decision as a parent, you know, in proxy, so to speak.
Yeah.
So they're now saying that they want to take that away from asylum seekers, so that it will only be in the hands of the British government.
No.
It is an issue.
Of course it
because
is.
what they're trying to say is that we are better at considering and making decisions than you. End of story.
Yeah.
And yes, they're using that reasoning, but they can stretch that reasoning. Oh, well, it's only because we're only looking at the fact that if these people have come and they are children and they want to say that they're stateless, then we need to make that decision. Well, the whole thing is an overarching decision to be made about the family, because if they're children, they're not going to come on their own. They're coming with their mother or father or both. So they're going to come if they didn't come straight away. So you need to make a decision and look at the whole thing as an overarching thing. Look at the whole family.
Yeah.
Rather than, yes, the child is stateless.
Yeah, removing the child.
But we'll decide for ourselves. Okay, because then this is where they'll start splitting families. You know, and and immigration, when it's administered wrongly, that's what it does.
Yeah.
It splits families.
It's very damaging.
You know. Keeps on going off.
Well, because when you're talking, it locks itself.
So age assessments, blah 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 blah. Well, let's see how they do that. Because they're saying that they're going to allow them to challenge their decision if they think that they've been assessed wrongly. So if they say, no, I'm 15, and say, no, you're not, blah, blah,
You're
blah.
25.
But, you know, here's a joke. We do not identify any potential direct discrimination on the grounds of color or ethnic or national origins. Well, they've already done it because they've deported Jamaicans,
Yeah.
Windrush generation people. That's people who came here in the 50s and worked and built up the country and
Who
did
were
so many
invited
things.
here.
And who were invited here by the British government.
Yeah.
Now, if they knew, all right, we've reached the point, you should have had by now a British passport and you haven't, and they can see the track record of the person, they've worked, they've paid taxes, they've paid national insurance, they've made a life here, made a home here, made a family here.
Yeah.
They should have negotiated with those people on how they will complete the correct paperwork and get the British citizenship that they need. Instead, they've deported them.
Yeah.
It is absolutely disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting.
Right? And this is the bit that people don't want to talk about. This is the bit that many people, even our own people, are overlooking because it might not have affected them personally or anybody that's connected to them in terms of family.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Time I hear people talking about it, because even when I'm seeing online, because of course, since last year, there has been cases popping up.
Yes, quite a few.
Yeah, on the internet of, oh, please help my family,
my granny or whoever.
Yeah, is getting sent home. There's nobody there for her. She, there's nobody to look after her.
That's
she
right.
needs care. All these sorts of things. The government is not doing anything.
Old guys who have worked in the who were soldiers and RAF and all of this, and they want to kick them out.
Given their time and their energy towards this country to then just shove off by. You've
get back to Jamaica.
Now.
Get back to Barbados.
Oh,
we've used you
now. Yeah, we've used you.
Right?
We took our purpose, what we wanted. So now
we don't need you. You were like a slave.
Yeah.
Disgusting. And this is why people should address it instead of saying, "Oh, well, it hasn't affected me." So because it hasn't affected you, you bury your head in the sand like an ostrich.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Because it's affecting your people, and it's some of those same people who say things like that. If it was left to them, then those who ended up in slavery would still be in it.
Yeah, and they'd be saying, "Oh, well, it's not me. What do you want
I'm all right in my job because I'm the overseer and I'm whipping everybody else."
There's nothing.
Be careful.
Do. And that's exactly what it is. Because people believe they can't do anything, they can't help.
Or they don't want to. Not my problem. So then they're saying there will be inadmissibility of asylum claims by EU nationals. These proposals mean that EU nationals will be unable to avail themselves of our protection system. This could be said to amount to less favourable treatment on the basis of the nationality of a claimant. However, this will not be unlawful because the provision will be authorised by primary legislation. Okay, gobbledygook to some people, but let's break it down a bit. So what they're saying is that the Europeans are slightly different because anyway, Britain until Brexit was part of Europe.
Yeah.
So EU countries are fundamentally safe with the sufficiency of protection, rule of law, and a wider EU framework, so on and so forth. That may be true to an extent, but then you see the issue, of course, that jumps into that one is the colour.
Yep.
Because they may be safe for the right colour. They may not be safe. I can give examples. Okay, I was cool. I went to Russia. Nobody actually tried to fight me or anything like that, but I've obviously only been one color all my life,
Yeah.
and I grew up in the UK, and I've been to places in the UK where there's not many of us or who look like me, and I see that there's a certain feeling and atmosphere that you get.
Yes.
That feeling in Russia was like 50 times more. And if you go to somewhere like Poland, you're going to get the same story again. This is reality. It's particularly from the males. more than the females.
Yeah.
You know, and these are the things that then some people who've migrated through, that's part of the reason also why they then want to jump off out of those countries and come into the UK.
Yeah.
Second to that, and as important as that, is the fact that some of the people who are coming into UK, maybe not so much those ones who they said are the ones who are coming in the most, by the way, which was those Muslim countries, but others, which generally will be people of colour, coming out of other African countries, they are coming to the UK because they speak English.
Yes.
And they speak English because they've been colonized by the UK.
Yep.
This is the reason why.
English is their number
so
one language.
don't overlook the truth.
Yeah.
That's why they're coming here.
Mm-hmm.
And because the benefit system is easier than other countries.
Yeah, of course. It's easier for them to, if they come into this country and they get into the benefit system, they can go to school easier, get work and etc. It's a lot easier here than it would be in one of those countries.
And they're going to have to, and it's easier for them to navigate the system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever the system may be,
yeah.
because they're coming to an English-speaking country, and many of them have learned English from childhood.
Yeah, learn it in school.
You know, learn it in school, or they're taught in English in school.
Yeah,
especially if they go to a pretty decent school.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe fee-paying school,
mm-hmm.
as some of them may have done. And even in some cases, schooling wherever they might be is in English anyway.
Yeah.
And the business language of many of those countries is English.
Yeah.
So they want to come here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's as simple as that. They've talked about people having to get passports and not to come here without a passport. Fine. Nobody should be traveling without a passport. But we're talking about two different types of things.
Yeah.
First, you're talking about people who are just traveling because they want to get out and be somewhere else. That's one type of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're talking about people who are running from danger.
Yeah.
Those people may even have had a passport and ran and left it.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's been taken.
The problem here again, to an extent, is that the government are lazy to do the real work that they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We don't want to take time to investigate the reality of what's happened with you, who you are, and what's going on.
Yeah.
So we will just decide what we feel on a balance of probability.
Yeah.
And this is the difficulty, because the decisions where immigration are concerned are not coming on a burden of absolute proof.
Yeah.
They're coming on balance of probability.
Yeah.
How they feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult one.
It is.
Because you don't know what's in the heart of that immigration judge or adjudicator. They may hate people of color.
Yeah.
And that hatred is deeply embedded in their heart. Mm-hmm. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to sit there and say, oh, by the way, you've come in front of me. I hate people who look like you. But it may be embedded in them. And so when they now make their decision on the balance of probability, in other words, by their feeling and understanding of what you have presented, it will be affected.
Yep.
And those are the realities that people do not want to talk about.
Yeah.
They want to brush those things.
Yeah.
You know.
Under the carpet.
Under the carpet.
Or say, oh no, they wouldn't hire people who are this and that. Yeah, even in the detention centers, the people that the guards, that they hire are majority ex-prison officers. Yeah, and in my opinion, if you're an ex-prison officer and then you go into such work and you're not a person of color, you're there for a reason a lot of the time. And it comes majority of the time from hatred.
Mm-hmm. So, they've said a lot of things there, and I'm not going to even cover any more of their stuff.
Yeah.
Right? What I'm going to do is read this last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if anybody chooses to comment and say anything, we'll talk about. And Tamar's going to talk about her stuff as well.
Yeah.
Which is all relevant to the same subject.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to use a particular document to refute some of what I've just been reading,
Yeah.
because it does curtail the rights of refugees, which is what these people are, asylum seekers. They're called asylum seekers before they've been, and then of course, when they've been granted refuge, they become.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. We understand the process and we understand the implications where that's concerned. What do you then call somebody who's from Windrush generation in the main, and some who are not even, some who are descendants of? And by the way, we have already covered some of this in other lives, but we said last week, I believe, that you need to bear in mind that it can't be undermined that people of color have been here for forever.
Yeah.
The original and first people on this United Kingdom of Great Britain were people of color anyway.
Yeah.
And that is an assailable fact.
Yeah.
It cannot be denied, it cannot be argued against. It's an absolute fact.
Yeah.
That the first people on the British Isles were people of color. So when they say, oh, they came in the Windrush, early 50s, blah, blah, blah. Yes, many did. There was an influx at that time, but the people of color were always here already.
Yeah.
Right? And many, not just a few, many. But let's talk about the fact that those who came at that time, they've then been deporting people from that time because of incorrect paperwork, etc.
Yeah.
Not because yes, if it were only that they were deporting people who had been or are criminals, we might have a different conversation.
Yeah.
And we might still argue that they don't necessarily need to deport them all, or just like that.
Yeah,
it's just a good excuse. But they are deporting people who have never, ever done anything wrong, never broken any law, but have worked and put money into this country physically, built a family, built a life, and they are deporting them still. That's what's wrong about it.
Yeah.
And they are not here claiming refuge as asylum. They're not here as asylum seekers claiming refuge. That's what I mean to say. They were here as workers and as citizens of this country.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's read some of this. The bill significantly curtails the rights of refugees, represents a fundamental challenge to the principle of refugee protection. I agree. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what they want is to give people only a temporary status with restricted rights to family reunification and financial support. The two major things, because the two big things that are going to be an issue for a stranger coming into a strange country is lack of funds and lack of family.
Yeah.
Because they have no network and they have no finances.
Yeah.
And so both things are difficult, because you could use your finance to create your network or to keep in touch with your family, etc., etc. They will remove those two things and put you in a no man's land, basically. It introduces an institutional model for asylum accommodation and makes provision for the offshore processing of asylum applications. So in other words, make your application in France.
Yeah.
Or somewhere, out there.
Do it.
Because wherever they've come from, they generally pass through France anyway. This will increase pressure on the judicial system. Yes. So that means that now when these immigration judges and adjudicators are making their decision on a balance of probability, so how their gut feels, or what if their belly is hurting them that day, and I'm being, facetious, but you understand my point. That's how the decision will come out.
Yeah, for real though.
See? So they're introducing more severe penalties, yes, we know, and criminalizing the whole act. So even people who are trying to get here genuinely because they are in genuine danger, it can now be criminalized.
Of course.
And of course, it will give an even bigger backlog. So there's some questions that they ask. So I'm going to read through those questions one by one. So the first question that they asked was, do proposed changes to the system, that is the application and appeals process, provide adequate human rights protection? And a bit more, but that's the basis of the question. So they're saying that they want to raise the standard of proof to make it the same as any other civil claim. So up until now, before this bill, it wasn't. It was totally and absolutely that they will go by how they feel from the evidence that is presented before them. Now they're wanting to raise that standard and say that we need more proof than that, and we will try not to make a decision until we have more proof. Now I do say that has good and bad points.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not totally bad.
Definitely.
From the point of view of some human rights organization, it's bad.
Yep.
Because people can't just say, look, I had to run away because my family were trying to slaughter me because I wouldn't marry Joe Bloggs.
Yeah.
You might be telling the truth, you might be lying.
Yeah.
And they may go by every other evidence that you show, blah, 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 blah. This is what happened. This is how it happened, and so forth. Believe that. They're now asking for more evidence.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, it has its good and its bad points. Because this is now where, well, look, my evidence is, been in this country since the 50s. I've worked here. I've paid national insurance. I've paid tax. I bought a house here. I bought cars here. I've grown children here, grandchildren. That's my evidence for me to stay in the country.
Yeah.
I made a mistake in that I didn't fill out correct paperwork, didn't get myself a British passport, didn't know that it mattered, blah, 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 whatever the thing. But the thing is that up until now, they're saying, we don't want to listen to any of that. You're not supposed to be here because you are not a citizen. Get out.
Yep.
This is a problem. So I do understand. And from my personal viewpoint, like I said, raising the standard of proof has good and bad points. But maybe particularly for those who were here from before, that may not be a bad thing. Because they can give evidence of bank accounts.
And everything.
Doctors, surgery, dentists, of living here and doing all the things that everybody else is doing. You see?
A citizen.
And what they've been doing so far, so we don't want to hear any of that from you. Not important, not relevant. But it should be relevant.
Of course it should be relevant.
See, it should be. So that's where you would say, well, okay, in their case, raising the standard of proof is not necessarily a problem. And obviously then they want to look at those who are saying, look, I'm in a life-threatening situation, etc., etc. They want to see. But some people are saying that this will be exacerbated. I'm not so sure about that it will be. I think it's good to be looked at personally.
Yeah. It definitely has its good and bad points, definitely.
So, the balance of probability is for the historical facts of a claim and maintain a reasonable likelihood is what they look at in terms of risk. So this aims to make it more difficult for refugees to prove their need for protection and is less likely to result at best in complex, expensive and time-consuming litigation. Balance of probabilities versus reasonable likelihood. Again, all of it still by gut feelings, but those two things, English, as you know, is very technical sometimes. Because if you don't know, how are you going to understand the difference between what's the balance of probability and reasonable likelihood? They are two different things, two different terms, and this is what they're saying, that's where the issue is.
That's what's happening.
That there are two different terms. Do you want to say a bit more on the difference between them? Balance of probability,
Yeah, well, the balance of probability, of course, that it's like it's like you make a judgment for yourself. So let's say there's somebody who's come to the UK they've said to you, "Oh, I need to be here because I've ran away from my parents who wanted me to marry this man, and I didn't want to marry him because he's old and I'm young, etc., etc., and they wanted to kill me." If that person shows that they have evidence, say like maybe they've got some marks on their body that shows abuse, or they've got some pictures of their family members and the wedding proceedings, etc., then that shows that you are that person is not lying. But if somebody came and let's say they didn't have any of that evidence, and you spoke to them and they gave you their account, etc., a person, an immigration officer, if they don't like Dad was saying before, if their stomach is hurting, for instance, that day they can decide, well, I'm not seeing any signs of abuse, so I'm not hearing your story. Get out of here. I'm not interested. Or maybe they say, oh yeah, well, you've got some signs of abuse, but that ain't the story. The story you're telling is not what it is. And until you tell the story that I want to hear, you get in the detention center. And that's what's happening.
Yeah,
because to them, maybe the story, they're not feeling it. Yeah, their stomach is saying, the story is not sounding on point, or it's not sounding good enough to me.
That's right. And again, that's down to the judge. And this is part of what I'm just reading here. The judge can even decide, okay, you submitted your evidence late, you took too long, so I can now choose. And this is what I'm saying. And of course, remember that the United Kingdom of Great Britain could never have any biased judges. I mean, it's not so possible, is it?
And on point.
Because this is what they're trying to say to you, that, well, the judge will make his own decision as to whether he should even take notice of that evidence because you submitted it late, or you didn't understand the system. They may not understand the system because they don't know the British system. And yes, they might be using somebody, but they might be using somebody who they can use because they don't have money to use somebody who's very, very good. Because it will cost them a lot of money. So if they're in a position where they don't have the money to use some super duper legal team who know everything and understand how it all works, so they're just using somebody to help them put things together, they may not have understood the system. The judge may meet them, look at them and think, I don't like these people, so I'm gonna decide to rule against your evidence. I don't care what your evidence says. I'm ruling against it because you're late with it. Because that's what they will have under this new law, which I'm sure will become law next year. They will have the provision to be able to do that, to say to people, no, we disagree. We don't like your evidence. Your evidence was late, so we're not even looking at it. We will just decide to just dismiss your evidence.
Because, of course, in their opinion, if it's that, dire, and you need to stay here so badly, you will get it. You will get everything and do everything perfectly. And if not, forget about your business. And that's what they're basically saying.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
So they want to introduce a fast-tracked process of what they call accelerated detained appeals. So those people will be already in detention centres. And remember, some of them are going to be our people, people who've been here a long time and who are appealing. And the system that they want to put in place is such that those people in the detention centres will have priority removal notices, limiting access to justice by removing access to the first tier tribunal. So what that basically means, that they will be able to deport people faster. So they won't have the chance to find competent legal representation, and gives them less time to challenge the decision of the government.
Of course. Or to appeal
and penalise them.
So this is what's happening. You're not getting your chance to do another retrial or appeal. Get out.
And it gives them also trauma, because you're talking about people who are detained. They're in a heightened state of anxiety and fear. Did you say you've got some?
I've got a lot on
about the detention centres.
yeah, and the conditions in there.
Yeah, so good time to get on it then.
Should I start that then? Yeah.
Because then I don't have to say it because you can go in more detail.
So the immigration detention centres, which are now being actually renamed as immigration removal centres, are the holding centres for the foreign people who are, like Dad said, awaiting decisions on their asylum claims or awaiting deportation following a failed application. So basically what the Home Office guidance states is that someone can be detained in there if they believe that their story is not adding up. They believe that there's some evidence that they need to provide or give. So say that maybe they don't have their passport, so they want to check where they're from and etc. Or if they believe that they're a criminal
or a risk of any type,
or any risk towards society, so then that's when they fling them in the place. And in these places, the condition is basically like prison. It's prison but worse, because in there they just fling anybody in any cell, so they don't even factor in the things of, say, like, because of course we know that there's tribalism and culturalism and things like that. They don't factor in anything of that. So there's even some people that are inside put in these cells with somebody who's of a different tribe, and then they start fighting and they killing each other in there and all these sorts of things. Children are being put flung in cells with adults that they do not know. Nothing to do with them, no connection to them, and pulled away from their family members,
which opens it to abuse, of course. Physical, emotional, and sexual abuse.
Yes, exactly. So they're flung. Even there's people who are pregnant. They know that they're pregnant. They flung them in there. They're not getting any appointments. They're not getting proper food, proper water. They're just leaving them in there to rot. And some people, when I watched this documentary, it said that some people had been in there for like 10 years and still their case hadn't been seen yet. And there's no time limit for when your case is to be seen. So they can leave you in there indefinitely.
So it's worse in a way than an average imprisonment.
Yeah. So even I've got some statistics here where it speaks about, let me just find it because I've got a few. Need to look at these pages here because there's so many people now that are in these places that are wanting to kill themselves because they're saying it's worse than when I was in the country that I wanted to run away from. I've just come from one abuse to another. Yeah. So it says here that let me see here. Yep, so it's a dehumanizing. This is November 2020. So this is recent. This is only a year old. And it says here that a dehumanizing, overcrowded and traumatic experience is what these people are going through. Yet it is something that the government continues to force on people despite the consequences. It is a decision that proves the government favors the quick immigration administrative process over the safety of deeply vulnerable people who are seeking permission to remain in the country. It says in October, hundreds of migrants were left isolated in Dungerville Detention Centre after an outbreak of coronavirus. Poor conditions, including a lack of PPE, unsanitary facilities and mismanagement, all contributed to the rapid spread of the virus. During the first lockdown, the government placed 19,000 people in crowded detention centres, despite knowing about the lack of health precautions. So that already shows you a problem. The government didn't care. That's why, as well, I believe they was so hard on the first lockdown. Because if anybody remembers what the first lockdown was like, then you'll know it was like the prison was our yard. And when it got to nighttime, nobody could move or go anywhere easily. Yeah, don't you remember that? Even when Dad would be dropping me home, the police would be following
you.
Yeah, following us to see where he's going and what he's doing. And of course, when they're looking in the car as well, then they're seeing, oh, everybody's looking the same. So then they're skirting off and looking elsewhere. But they were stopping people, asking for people's names, asking for people's documentation. And really, that shows that they had another, what's the word? They had another plan underneath the whole coronavirus.
That's right.
Yeah. So it states here as well that the crisis, there has been no action from the government, despite conditions pushing detainees to breaking point and campaigners warning of a surge in self-harm incidents. The Independent reported a 2,000% rise in self-harm in detention centres, pushed by the Home Office's lack of accountability to provide support for those dealing with the emotional stress that was going on in there, because they're being split from their families, from people they know, and etc. And it says the crisis of self-harm within the centres is very evident. Statistics recorded in 2019 said that there's 474 self-harm related incidents. As of March 2020, the figure stood at 149. So that was from from the end of 2019 to then March the next year, there's then already almost 200 more cases of self-harm that have been reported. Because there'll be some that will not be reported.
That are never reported.
Never recorded. Yeah. But it says even here, it is unknown how many cases were left unrecorded due to the coronavirus pandemic. Because, of course, they would have started focusing on other things and then let that one dwindle down. We don't need to write anything about that. Just leave it. Yeah? And it says here, Brook House, which is a removal centre near Gatwick Airport, reported 80 incidents needing urgent medical treatment. This is extremely alarming, considering at the time the capacity was as low as 100 people. So only 20 people were all right in there. The rest of them needed urgent medical treatment for what was going on. So what exactly was happening in there? You know what I mean? These exposed cases of mistreatment and neglect is there. I didn't even have to look hard for this. This is what I'm telling you. I just typed in immigration detention centers. Boom, 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 and I've got
all the information comes up.
Yeah, and there's several different articles that you can look at that go into depth about it. Yeah. So it goes on to say here about that there's a hostile environment throughout the centers, and it's becoming more apparent, and it's forcing detainees to risk their own health in protest of living in filthy conditions. So this is why the things were happening with the hunger strikes, which is something I also heard about in the documentary that I watched, that this lady, she was a victim of human trafficking. She came into the UK, I think probably by a small boat. They detained her, and then they said, oh, her story is not, they're not believing her story, so they'll be detaining her until they feel like. She then said that the officers, the immigration officers, which were, like I told you earlier, majority ex-prison officers, were all extremely horrible. They even started abusing her, she said, coming into her cell, beating her up, doing all these horrible things to her. And she said that it got to the point where she was starving herself. She didn't want to eat. And they were laughing at her, saying, oh, yeah, starve yourself if you want. That makes our job easier for us. Yeah, and all these sorts of things.
Evil.
Yeah. And so she then said that she tried to commit suicide, of course, because she was saying, I've been abused, and then I've come to this place to be abused again. She said, so I just didn't have the will. She said, and then she tried to commit suicide. Of course, she was then taken to the medical examiner, and that is when the medical examiner then said, oh yes, we can see that there's evidence of past abuse. So then they allowed her out after all that, and she'd been in there for about 2.5 years or something,
because they couldn't be bothered to check.
And that's why she was on the hunger strike, because she was asking for the medical examination, and they were telling her, no, we're not putting you for the medical examination. So these officers that are supposed to be looking after these people and treating them fairly and giving them a humane experience inside this detention center that they have to be in, because this is what the Home Office says, they're, instead of treating them fairly, they're abusing them. They're enjoying their power over them, and maybe even some of them are exercising their hatred out on them. And this is what these people have to go through. And on top of this, there's, like I said before, there's children in there who are being neglected, right? And the Immigration Act clearly states that it's illegal to detain a child unaccompanied for longer than 24 hours. However, the Home Office has repeatedly let this slip. Yeah, why? Because they know what they're doing. Detention action reveals children were left locked in rooms with unknown adults without substantial food or water.
Look at that.
So imagine you're a child, you're 12 years old, you're locked up in some cell with some man you've never met before, you don't know. And like we stated before, yes, some people have come from a bad experience, but there are also some that are criminals and they're fleeing. Yeah? They've now locked them up with this criminal man who's going to start doing awful things to them. Oh, let's see this comment here from Israel. Why is it not coming up? Hold on.
You got it? No?
Yeah, got it. Israel said, British people hardly suffer abuse like this when their citizenship is in question in another country, especially in Commonwealth countries. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is the thing. They're not flung in some tiny cell that's dirty and nasty and unsanitary, and then put through abuse and even not given proper food and water and all these things. They're not put through any of these things. No, they're just asked questions and just detained normally, humanely. But in these cases, because they're not meant to be here anyway, so we don't care what happens to them. And that's a lot of what the behavior is of these officers, who are just thinking, well, you're not supposed to be here anyway, so who cares what happens to you? Yeah. And so it says here, let me just see this.
Excuse me.
So this was another article now, which was made in October 2019, written in October 2019, sorry. And it says, that the government's highly controversial policy of indefinite immigration detention has been widely criticized and has become one of the most important human rights issues facing the country today. Yeah. If we were to remember just one thing about indefinite detention, it's hard to do better than the succinctly damning words of the Human Affairs Select Committee last year. So this is the Human Affairs Select Committee that have put out this statement, and they've said, we have found serious problems with almost every element of the immigration detention system. People are being wrongfully detained, held in immigration detention when they are vulnerable, and detained for far too long. Yeah, so that's
it.
It's not even hard.
That's the reality.
Yeah. So immigration detention in the UK, it says here, is run on an enormous scale, which we already know, because even Dad gave you some of the figures of the people that were entering just this year. And there are 8 detention centers, because it says 7, but there's now one more that's been added, which I know about. So there are 8 main detention centers around the country, and approximately 24,000 people are held every year. And we know now it's more than that, even than what's on this. We know that the statistic here is even low. So, yeah, like I said to you, detention is indefinite. So that means they can be in there for years and years and years. Some people 5 years, 6 years, long time. No trial, no looking at evidence, no medical examination, no dentist. No one's looking at their teeth. No one's looking at their health. No one's checking in on their mental health. No one is looking at anything. Mm-hmm. They're just flung in there and left. Yeah, just left to rot. Yeah, and it says here that the reality of who is held in immigration detention is not as simple as people who should not be in the UK. With no criteria in law for who gets detained, the case is wide. So they can be somebody who's like I stated before, incredibly incredibly vulnerable. They've, like the lady I spoke about, they've been human trafficked all over the world, because that's what she said was happening. She was being trafficked all over the world until she was able to run away. Mm-hmm. and came to England, and then was put through years more of abuse under their policies that because there's not enough evidence, because she didn't have a passport and anything like that. And that's exactly what we're talking about.
That's right.
There are some people who
ran away without
passport. It. Yeah,
they ran away
because that was their only chance to survive. Yeah, they've been exploited, etc. This then it says decisions to detain indefinitely are made by Home Office officials, and it can be months to years before someone gets to see a judge. The problem is that the government doesn't have legal criteria for who gets put in immigration detention, and all the decisions are made by the Home Office, which has led to thousands being detained for no reason at all. The Home Office so frequently gets it wrong that the majority of people it detains are released, and it has to pay out millions for unlawfully detaining people. So imagine people are being detained, because maybe even they have the right to be here, and maybe they were somewhere else and they've come back, and because that person is racist, like we said, their stomach is hurting when they're seeing this person who's coming in and they're not looking British, and maybe to them their accent is
not
too
dressed
thick.
nicely the way they would expect, and all of this.
Yeah, then they decide, fling them in the cell. Then they're getting sued for making a wrong decision. And look at that, paying out millions to people because they've made wrong decisions. And that is exactly what we're talking about when it's when we're discussing the people that are making these split judgments. These people need to be vetted and put through even like scenario basis training, so they can see how this person thinks, what they would make, what decisions they would make in a certain situation, and etc. They said there's no races on Genesis. There's skin and sand for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Leah, I know. Mm-hmm. I know what she's saying. She's English is not her first language.
Okay.
Yes, she's right. Anyway, but unfortunately, that's the truth, but it's not the reality.
Yeah.
Because
it's not the reality,
people discriminate on so many different grounds.
Yeah.
And this is the problem, because I'm not saying, I know we're not going to go on for much longer. It's 1 hour 19, believe it or not. We're not saying for 1 minute that people should just come here willy-nilly.
No.
Everybody and anybody and stay. But there are some difficult things that have to be spoken about. Like, for instance, we already mentioned is 87% of those who come here are male. And I'm just looking at, some other statistics while Tamar's talking.
Yeah.
And one of the issues that under this new law, if they get it in place, where they will be able to stop families from being connected,
Mm-hmm.
well, the males are going to be here on their own.
Yeah.
They're male. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
If they get to stay in this country, they will pick up females in this country and they will make children in this country.
Of course they will.
All right? Because if they can't bring their wife and their children here, they'll
They
not
will.
stay here and twiddle their thumbs.
No.
Don't fool yourself.
No.
You know, and we were
They'll
talking,
create a
the
life.
top 5 are 5 Muslim countries. They will come here and make more Muslims in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what you want, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, but don't pretend that those are not the real things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that it's not anybody's choice to be a Muslim. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But we need to remember that some of those who are coming here as Muslims, some of them are coming here with a different reason and purpose. Some are coming because they're escaping difficulties and so forth. But some are coming here with a very nefarious agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that.
Because let's be realistic, right? People want to write their little, make their funny pictures, write their little rude comments, about Shamima. Oh no, we don't want her in our country. Imagine that is somebody that actually grew up in this country.
She was born here. And she was a child when she left here.
Yeah, she was only 15. Went to school here and everything. She wasn't even. She had good grades even.
She was groomed.
Yes.
But because she's a person of color, they don't want to accept that she was groomed. If she was a little white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl who'd gone off, they'd have done everything under the sun to bring her back. And if she said, "I want to come back," they would have brought her back and let her in.
Yeah.
But because she isn't, then they're looking at her different.
Yeah.
She's this and she's that. She's an adult now, yes.
Yeah.
But she was a child when she left and went and married a paedophile.
Yeah.
Because she was a child. She was 15 years old. And if she'd have married that person in the UK and was living in the UK, he would have been arrested for being a paedophile, marrying an underage child. And they wouldn't have cared what decision she made. They'd have said she's a child. She cannot make her own decision. So we're not interested. But because the system is racist, they've decided that she's different because she's not blonde-haired and blue-eyed.
Yeah.
Now she made her bed. She should lie in it.
Yeah.
Many of those girls who have gone and slept with Muslim taxi drivers and all the rest of it, and takeaway owners and so forth, who was allegedly, supposedly groomed, and we know the reality of the big mix of it. They're dirty slags. Let's have it right. And I'm not saying that to say that those men who did what they did were right either. But the girls were not innocent.
Yeah.
They were not.
They weren't innocent.
It's all that it's that they are white, and that's what counts. So of course they were just groomed. Yeah. Some of them were going willingly, absolutely looking. I want to get drunk. I want you to buy me cigarettes. I want you to buy me weed. I want you to give me money. They went looking for the money.
Whatever.
They went looking for it, and they knew at the end of the day what they were playing into.
Yeah.
The problem is that they didn't think of the consequences. Why? Because they were children.
Yes. And it's the same as Shamima Begum, the exact same.
Exactly the same.
She did not think of the consequences, because you really think that she believed, oh, me going over there to that country, I'm gonna be abused. Even my children,
and end up having three
killed.
Children that will all die.
Yeah,
all be dead.
Do you think that's what she believed?
No way.
Yeah. So why is it that everybody can put the care and effort into the white girls? Yeah. Even there was a story I remember where this one white girl that was the same age as Shamima, ran off with some teacher, and they went to some next country, and they found her in the next country and brought her back home, and then they prosecuted the man immediately, and said that, and she was even there at the court case, defending him, saying she loves him, they're together, they're in a relationship, and the judge was saying, I'm not interested. He's being prosecuted. You're a child. But when it's Shamima, oh no, it's not the same.
Not the same.
Yeah.
Because she's a person of color.
And this is where the issue lies, because just like that, there are going to be other people who want to get to England, and they are getting away from those awful countries where they're going through serious abuse day in, day out. And then because they're coming here and they're not looking how they want them, or things are not, nah, I'm not feeling it. Yeah, this is what the Home Office is saying. Nah, we're not feeling it. Fling them in the detention centre and leave them there for a while. And then when the case has stewed for long enough, and we know that there's no evidence that they can bring, because they don't have any people to ring, there's no one to call, they have no money for legal aid, etc. Then we'll look at their case, and then because they have no legal aid, they have no evidence, and they have no one to help them and no support system, fling them back to the country, deport them. That's what they're doing.
That's right.
Exactly that system. And that's why they're detaining people for a long period of time, because they're breaking them.
That's right.
Before they even look at their case. Yeah? And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Let me see.
We won't go too much longer. I see 125 because we're not getting that many comments or anything. So
let's see.
Pick what bits you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So I'll speak just a little bit about the cost. Right? So it says here, and remember this is an old figure. So this is not including all of 2020 and 2021, which is soon coming to its end. It says here the total cost of this UK's system of indefinite immigration detention is currently 108 million per year. In addition, it was revealed last year that the Home Office paid out 21 million in just 5 years for wrongfully detaining 850 people, and there's probably even more. Recent analysis by Liberty and Cambridge Econometrics revealed that a 28-day time limit for immigration detention could save the taxpayer up to 35 million per year. So that's why now they've been forced to look at it and look at this new bill that they're doing, and etc. This is why they're doing it, because too much of their money is getting wasted because of the racist little officers that they've got in the system.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's now mashing up their money, and that's what they care about most.
It's just about the money, yeah.
So because
it's costing too much.
Yes. It's costing them too much, and they're thinking, nah, we're already paying out to keep these people in the detention centres, and then now because you lot are fools and racist, we're now paying it out to correct the wrongful detaining that they're doing. Yeah, this is the thing. If alone in 1 year, 850 people have sued them, and that's just the people that have the means to sue them,
of course,
and the intellect to sue. But there's some people that will just think,
don't know what I'm gonna do about this.
Allow it. I'm out of here now. At least I'm free. I can't even be bothered to go there.
But the fact of the matter is, because I said we are going to shut it down because we're not getting comments back, but it doesn't matter. We're saying what we're saying anyway.
Yeah.
When they do expel people, especially and particularly the ones that go back across Europe, they come back.
Yeah. They just try again.
They just try again and they come back. And that's what they need to understand.
Yeah.
That it's not a deterrent.
Not
if they don't look at it properly, and if they don't look at all the facts of what really needs to be looked at, those people will just go away and they will come back. And that's what's literally happening. They're going out. They're being sent out, let's say.
Yeah.
Shipped off, whatever you want to call it, but they're coming back.
Yeah.
Because this is not the way to do it.
No, it's not.
And the system in general should be more fair for everybody. And until it is,
it's going to continue.
The problem is still going to be there. It's not going to go away. And of course, like we did say, and we've not talked about it again this week.
Mm.
They've got to look at the reality of that you will reap what you sow.
Yeah, for
They've
real.
done some things and are still doing, putting their foot into countries where they shouldn't be. And
Mhm.
some of those people have decided, well, this is the next best thing, so we're coming home.
Yeah.
Because at one point in time, you owned those countries, which means, according to you, you owned the people, or you gave them the ideology in their own minds that they were, had affinity
Mhm.
with the United Kingdom of Great Britain because they were classified as a British colony,
Yeah.
right? Which has now then gone on to become the Commonwealth.
Mhm.
And then you then don't want those people from those countries to come here.
But you want to drain out their resources.
And it isn't everybody that's coming. Even if there was an open invitation,
Mhm.
everybody wouldn't come anyway.
No, they wouldn't. There'd
Even
be some
if
people that say
They
no.
would just say no,
thanks.
don't want, I wouldn't bother.
Mhm.
So even from that perspective, that's not how it is.
No.
And you want to deny the fact that many of those people have made this country what it is,
Mm.
either from being here or from the fact that whatever was in their country of origin has been raped, pillaged, and drained
Yeah.
and used to build this United Kingdom of Great
Mhm.
Britain. And that's where I will finish.
Yeah.
All right. Next week, we are talking about baby mothers versus baby fathers.
Yes.
So tell everybody, those who will see this, I'm going to notify people with lots of time on that one. And I hope we do get people who will come on and vent their spleen, so to speak.
Yeah.
Baby mothers versus baby fathers. That will be next week. Good night. God bless. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not